Hello, and welcome to Nostalgia Marcana. I'm your host, Doug Leaf. Each episode of this podcast, we'll look back on the movies, TV, games, people, and phenomena that we still love talking about all these years later, and ask ourselves why these bits of pop culture still enchant us today. This week, we'll be revisiting...
Impossible for a plain yellow pumpkin to become a golden carrot. Impossible for a plain country bumpkin and a prince to join in marriage. A slipper made of glass is just a shoe. And dreamers never make a dream come true. Impossible.
In the words of Bill Murray in Candy Shack, this is a real Cinderella story. This is about as Cinderella story as you can get, because we're talking about Cinderella. And once again, this podcast is flirting with, but not actually doing, an episode on a straight up Disney movie. We've done Disney live action movies. We've done like touchstone things like The Nightmare Before Christmas, but not one person has said, I really want to come on your show and talk about The Lion King. Like somehow that just isn't happening. So anyway, we are talking about a different Disney Cinderella property, and this is their version of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella, released in 1997 on your television screen, starring Brandy and Whitney Houston. I am really excited to be talking about this because I don't have a ton of nostalgic memories of this, but our guest sure does. And she's new to the podcast, so I'm very happy to have here Kate from the No Small Games podcast. Welcome, Kate.
Thank you so much for having me, Doug. I'm so excited to be here. And yeah, I just got to say, I listened to your Coraline episode recently that you did with your family, and that just really warmed my heart. And I love just seeing all the different things that you have to offer and figuring out what people are nostalgic for. And as someone who has only really been gaming since 2020, I'm not quite at that point of being super nostalgic for games yet. So I appreciate that I got to pick something that I wouldn't normally get to talk about on my show.
If ever I have someone on who's a podcaster and they have like a specific beat, I will often say like, well, what's the thing you would never get to talk about in your show? Like, bring that because now's your chance. So before we even get to talking about Cinderella, tell the good folks out there in internet land about your show and what it's all about.
Absolutely. So yeah, my name's Kate, and I also go by Cater Blossom online. And I am one of the co-hosts and co-producers and co-founders of No Small Games, which is an indie video game recap and review podcast. I have an iconic co-host named Emily Merritt, and we actually met online streaming Animal Crossing on Twitch in 2021. And then we kind of just discovered, I started discovering that I really like video games and I really like indie games. And Emily has been gaming her whole life and has always really loved indie games. So we kind of came together to create No Small Games. And we're about to hit our third year doing the podcast, which is really exciting. But yeah, we cover indie games of all shapes and sizes, any genre. It's been a really fun process for me as someone who's new to gaming because I get to try a lot of different games and genres through doing the podcast. And now we have sort of branched out and we cover indie game news. We have monthly episodes called Indie Game Roundups where we talk about industry news, new games coming up, demos, and we also have a website, nosmallgames.com, where we actually publish reviews of new indie games. So yeah, it's a great honor to be working with on No Small Games, and it's definitely one of the best things in my life. And I'm just, as a new gamer, excited to try anything I can get my hands on.
Well, as a very old gamer, that makes me happy because I cut my teeth on an Atari to give you an idea how old I am. So I go all the way back, not quite to Pong, but close. So I really like that you're doing that because the indie space is just like with like indie movies and indie music and any other independent thing. You're going to see some weird shit you won't see anywhere else. And I mean, I do love I love my AAA stuff. Like I just finished up a replay of Insomniac's Spider-Man 2, which is a glory to behold. But it is a multi-million dollar production in every possible way. And as great as that is, it's also really fun to like, I don't know, I want to see the weird thing that these two guys cooked up in their basement, over the course of 5 years, because those can be fascinating too.
It's so funny that you bring that up because I feel like I'm on the opposite end of that right now, where I'm starting to finally dip my toe into some AAA titles. Like I just started GTA 5 recently, and I was like, wow,
really, this small game. Yeah.
Very small game.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my goodness, because I recently got a PlayStation 4 from a neighbor. It's kind of a long story, but anyway, I'm like, oh, now I have this machine and I can buy physical copies of video games, and I just happened to see GTA 5 and just picked up a copy of it. And so I feel like I'm experimenting now with trying some AAA games and also some classic Nintendo games. Like I started playing Banjo-Kazooie, so it's fun for me, like as a new gamer, to sort of go and see what the classics are and some of the foundations of these, like, I guess, bigger gaming entities. So I think it's all good, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's just like anything else. It's like, yeah, it is fun to go see a $300 million blockbuster on the screen. Like there's room for both. They don't have, it's not one has to beat out the other. Yeah. Well, so let's talk about Cinderella here, because I'm really excited to hear let's start where we always do, your nostalgic memories of this, and why was this the thing, when I asked you to come on the show, that, you were like, yes, this should be the topic.
Well, so it's funny because I feel like there's that meme going around where people say, this is my Roman Empire, like about how men just think about the Roman Empire all the time.
Have we not talked about the Roman Empire since we...
I sort of realized recently that Cinderella, Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella, is my Roman Empire. It's something that I think about at least once a week. And I'm like, why is it? Why do I think about this so much? And I think that... one of the reasons is because the movie obviously made a really big impression on me when I was younger, and it was playing at my house all the time. Like, I think I just had this movie on constantly. I was really attached to it. But I think a big reason for that is it came out in 1997, I think, this version of the movie.
Right.
And I kind of grew up really being a theater kid, and I performed a lot and I auditioned a lot to be in community theater, and I was in community choir. And it was a really significant time for me because when this movie came out, the songs In My Own Little Corner and The Stepsisters Lament were like the audition songs. Like every girl that was doing theater at this time was auditioning for plays and musicals with these two songs from Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella. So I have really vivid memories of both watching the movie and just practicing both of these songs over and over again with the sheet music and the rehearsal tracks in my bedroom with the door closed. Like I must have sung them hundreds of times. So yeah, I think that is a big reason why it's so special to me. Also just my love of theater. And I did go on to sort of study theater in school. I have a degree in theater, a BA in theater with an emphasis in sound design and stage management. So I sort of shifted from performing on stage when I was younger to sort of making it my career behind the scenes. So I just love theater, and that's kind of that's my bread and butter, and something I feel a little bit more comfortable in that realm, if that makes sense.
Totally. So how old were you when this hit in 97?
Oh, I'm so bad at math. I was born in 1992. Can you tell me how old I was when this
5
came out? Yeah, so I was definitely a little bit older when I discovered the movie, because I must have been auditioning for things, from the age of like 11 to 18. So I guess the movie was a little past its release date when I started to really get attached to it. But I just remember it making such a big impression on me, and I think I will always remember like Jason Alexander and Bernadette Peters, and a lot of these actors have grown to become, some of my favorites. So it's such an iconic movie.
Yeah. See, I was 17 in 1997.
Okay.
So now I am a theater kid. Also,
Nice.
Especially once high school hit, that's when I really started doing theater, and then I did improv for many, many years. It's not anything I ended up doing for a living. But it's been like kind of a part of me for a long, long time. That said, as much as I like theater and I love musicals, I'm not as knowledgeable on Rodgers and Hammerstein. I basically know The Sound of Music, and that's it. So even though I was like right in the middle of my high school theater career when this came out, and I was aware of it, like you couldn't have avoided it. Part of it was just, we had more of a monoculture in terms of the pipeline of like things coming into your TV. You also had it backed
Yeah.
by Whitney Houston, one of the biggest stars on the planet. So I knew it existed, but it was not aimed at my demographic, even as a theater guy. So it kind of passed me by. But I was shocked to learn, like when I was doing the research about this thing they estimated like somewhere like a little over 60 million viewers when it hit. That's a little less than half of what the Super Bowl gets. Those are crazy numbers. For a production of the third production of this TV Rodgers and Hammerstein musical.
That's a good point. Yeah, it was the third rendition of this like musical, and I feel like to me it makes sense why so many people liked it and tuned in. But I also think that I don't know, it takes so much work, as you know, to put on a production, especially a musical, because there are so many elements that you have to consider, both when you're going to mount something on stage and do a filmed adaptation of it, because, you've got your costume design, you've got your musical director, sound designers. There's just a lot that goes into any sort of musical production. I feel like it's one of those artistic mediums that just requires more and more and more from teams and creative teams. And so I know this movie took a long time to get it going, they spend a lot of time working on it. So I think it's really great that it's kind of stood the test of time for a lot of people. And watching it recently just was really awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting. So as we said, this is the third time. It was written, of course, by Rodgers and Hammerstein for TV. Like they were approached to do a TV special because I don't know if you've ever seen the old Mary Martin, Peter Pan broadcasts that they used to do.
Yeah.
I grew up watching that. So that was in 1955, I think was the first one. And it was a big hit. And so NBC said, well, we got to do that. And so instead of taking a Broadway show and adapting it to TV, they approached Rodgers and Hammerstein and said, can you write something to be done on TV? And they came up with this, and the original one aired in 1957 with Julie Andrews in the title role, who they loved from doing My Fair Lady. They saw her doing that on Broadway, and obviously, again, they would work with her quite famously again for Sound of Music in a few years. And then it was done again in the 60s with Leslie Ann Warren in the title role, who we love on this podcast because of Clue. She plays Miss Scarlet in that.
Okay.
And then it wasn't touched again until I think the late 80s. I think it was the early 90s. They did a version of Gypsy for TV with Bette Midler.
Oh, okay.
And that's when Whitney Houston said, I want to do that. And originally, as you said, this took so long to gestate that like the original plan was to have Whitney Houston play Cinderella. But by the time they got around to 1997, she had really aged out of it. And she was the one who brought on Brandy to play the title role.
Which I love because they have great chemistry, and I know that this, sparked a creative mentorship between Brandy and Whitney Houston, and I just think like they have such a softness for each other in the film, and they end up singing a lot together. Like oftentimes we hear like, someone singing the harmony, someone singing the melody, and like that definitely happens between Brandy and Whitney Houston in this movie, but there are also a lot of moments where they're singing in unison, and they just sound incredible together, and they play so well together in this movie. So yeah, I just think it's such a special choice to have Whitney Houston like choose Brandy for this and really like put her in the spotlight, because at the time, Brandy hadn't done any movies really, or like anything like this. She was pretty notable as a singer, but she hadn't done like a musical film or anything. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, and even then, she was very much at the beginning of her musical career. She hadn't quite exploded.
True.
Yeah, so this really made her. And I like what you said about her and Whitney Houston working together on screen for this, because they do a good job of expanding her role. And I don't know, and I haven't seen the earlier versions to see if they did more with the fairy godmother. I sort of get the impression that they were like, listen, Whitney Houston is playing this character. She's got to be in this story more. Because like in the classic version of the story, like say the Disney animated one we've all seen, like as much as the fairy godmother is an iconic part of that movie, she's in it for like 9 minutes or less. Like she pops in, she does some magic, she sings bibbidi bobbidi boo, and you never see her again. Right?
Absolutely.
You can't have the queen, Miss Whitney Houston, pop in and out of this movie. She's got to be a bigger part.
You cannot squander the opportunity. You have to get Whitney Houston in there as much as you possibly can. And I think I meant to look this up, but I feel like they added maybe another song for her or something. I know that they added a song for Bernadette Peters in this specific version of the film. So yeah, I feel like they're really working with a lot of star power here. But Brandy and Whitney Houston definitely, like, that's what gives me the warm and fuzzies, is hearing them sing together and watching them interact together.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a couple of songs in here that were transplants from other things. They're all with music by Richard Rodgers, but there's one where the lyrics are by Lorenz Hart instead of Oscar Hammerstein, which is Falling in Love with Love. That's the one you're talking about, which is from a different show called The Boys from Syracuse, but they grafted it in to have the stepmother sing it. But as long as you're on the subject, man, the murderer's row of like side characters, I was stunned at the star power they got for this. Again, and mostly Broadway veterans.
Exactly. And I feel like Bernadette Peters, like, obviously at this point, she's so iconic. She was iconic when she was in this role, and she's even more iconic now, but she is definitely one of my favorite, I guess, actors, singers, performers of all time. I remember, I think it was maybe 2016 or 17 that my little sisters and I went to go see her perform live in concert in Salt Lake City on New Year's Eve, and hearing her perform live was incredible. And she definitely has that energy of, like, she can play, anything. Like, she could be leading lady, but she also is, like, in this role as the evil stepmother, is just makes it so iconic, and kind of is giving that, like, Miss Hannigan energy a little bit too. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like every single character, like Jason Alexander, or every single, like, actor, the casting is just so on point for this. It's such an ensemble-driven show when you really, like, take a step back. Like, everyone is just shining in their roles so perfectly and supporting each other in a way that just makes this such a cohesive experience as a viewer.
Yeah, and obviously we'll talk about these characters as they appear when we go through it. But yeah, Bernadette Peters, by this point, a Broadway veteran. She had done her voice acting in Animaniacs, playing a character, Rita, who does nothing but Broadway parodies. She was already that established. But, like, even going back to her early career, like, she's one of those people that's like Madeline Kahn or Carol Burnett, like, just a really funny force of nature. Like, she's in The Jerk. Like, you know how, like, funny you have to be to stand up against Steve Martin in his prime and be funny, like go toe to toe with him, and, like, they're brilliant together in that movie. She's so funny.
God, yeah.
You got Jason Alexander, like, in the middle of Seinfeld, right, doing this
at the peak of Seinfeld fame. I feel like, right? I don't know, maybe not.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely, yeah. 5 years in or so from the beginning. I think Seinfeld started in 93, I think is when it started. So certainly by 97, Seinfeld was a cultural force, a juggernaut. And I think not everybody realized at the time that, like, George Costanza was a great singer and dancer, and Broadway guy. Like,
so
he's in one of my personal favorite Disney movie, which is Hunchback. He's great in that, doing some song and dance. I saw him on. He took over for Nathan Lane in The Producers. He was great doing that. So yeah, he's got
some Tonys, right? He's got some Tony Awards.
He must.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he does. At least one.
the only one who's kind of, so you've got Victor Garber, who's another Broadway vet. He was in the original production of Sweeney Todd, like, going back that far.
Yes.
He's great. I don't think he really sings very much, if at all. He's sort of underused. He's fine. He's funny, but, like, I was like, dude can sing. Like, don't waste him.
Give him some bars.
Yeah. And then finally, the one that's not a Broadway veteran, but you do have Academy Award winner Whoopi Goldberg as the Queen.
Yeah, and I feel like I can't remember, like, the exact timeline of this, but isn't she in another really popular movie musical?
Sister Act.
What is it? She's in, like, Sister Act. That's what it is. Thank you. Yeah, she sings in that one too, right?
Well, her character sings. I'd have to look up if she's dubbed or not. I don't remember. My suspicion is she is.
Okay.
Because she doesn't sing a ton in those movies. She's mostly directing the singing nuns or students in the sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The acting is really on point. It's interesting how they got like such a blend of like experiences here, because like you have Brandy who hasn't done like a movie, but then you have like a lot of people who are already very notable like theater actors at this time, and I thought that created like an interesting vibe, like just seeing the different kinds of styles and approaches to I guess the more acting moments of this movie. I think it all really worked together though.
Yeah, it's also, I mean, another notable thing, of course, is that this is a multicultural affair. You've got, it's multiracial all over the place, which is awesome for 1997. And I couldn't confirm this was in fact the case, but since technically Brandy is the first Black Disney like fairy tale princess, if you look at the design of the dress on Tiana in Princess and the Frog, I don't know if they were deliberately trying to mimic the ball gown from this movie, but it sure looks a lot like it. And I don't know if that was like if you go online, people will say like, oh yeah, they're definitely doing that. But I've not seen anyone involved with the production. I couldn't find anyone who said, yes, we in fact did copy that design as an homage to this, but it would certainly seems plausible.
That's a great call out. I feel like they do look similar. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, let's get into this, because this is a neat movie, and it won't take us long to do. I mean, it is a TV movie. It's
right.
It's relatively short, but they pack a lot into it for this is always Disney's challenge, right? Like, here's a bedtime story you can read in 5 minutes. We have to make it into a 90-minute movie, and they do. They do a good job, and they do a good job without really. They don't. They never make any like explicit nods to the Disney animated one. Like, it's just, this is our version of the Rodgers and Hammerstein one.
Yes.
And any similarities come from the underlying fairy tale, not from the Disney source.
Totally. I totally agree.
All right. So we open this up with, of course, Whitney Houston, who made this all happen through force of fame and money. She's going to have the first moment on screen as the fairy godmother. And she sings a little bit of a song we'll hear more of later called Impossible. And she kind of just introduces things and gives us these glittering titles before we cut to our like bustling, I guess, 18th century town.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're in a proper musical bustle, right? It's townspeople are milling about.
Gosh. It's totally giving townspeople milling about. It's kind of like the vibe of like, well, you might see in Beauty and the Beast at the beginning, like very like Marie the Baguette's Hurry Up type of vibe. Like people are just walking around. There's all kinds of like commerce and there's shops. And there's little kids running around. There's a fountain, I think, or something in the middle of the town. There's a puppet show. It's very much like, this is our time. This is our place. This is our made up world. And yeah, you do get like Cinderella walking around with her evil stepmother and stepsisters. And then, of course, you have like her and the prince sort of having their love at first sight moment, meet cute sort of vibe. But then I can't remember if that's, then they sing, before that they sing a song together, but they aren't aware of each other. And then I think the end of that song is what brings them to their meet cute love at first sight moment.
The sweetest sounds I'll ever hear are still inside my head. The kindest words I'll ever know are waiting to be said. The most entrancing sight of all is yet for me to see, and the dearest love in all the world is waiting somewhere for me, is waiting somewhere for me. The sweetest sounds I'll ever hear
are still inside my head. The kindest words
I'll ever know are waiting to be said. The most entrancing
Yeah, they're both kind of singing this "I Want" song, but separately until they come together, right?
Yes.
And she's he's doing the Prince in disguise bit. He wants to go out amongst the people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so at first they're singing past each other. I love when we meet the stepsisters. Like, they're great. They do a good job with them. I always feel bad that somebody's in the casting department like, look, we got you a role. Who are you playing? The ugly stepsister. Like,
Yes.
Mom, I got a part.
Yeah.
Who are you playing? Ugly. I'm playing ugly, Mom. But they're not actually ugly in real life, but they ugly him up a bit here. Mostly
Totally.
through force of personality is how they're so ugly.
Mm-hmm.
But they're fighting over this hat. And like, it's just a funny, like, these two are really good together, like, in a way that makes me wish like they did more stuff. Just the two. I think their chemistry is really good.
Totally. I agree. They're very much like iconic stepsisters, and you can tell like they kind of ugly them up by giving them really like gaudy costume design choices, like ugly hats, big frilly dresses, different color palette than the rest of the characters are wearing. So they very much stand out. So I think that is intentional, and they really nailed it.
They also like pull a lot of cartoony kind of facial expressions to kind of ugly themselves up more without the use of makeup. Like, just kind of like baring a lot of teeth and just like, real extreme, just facial contortions. So Brandy, as she's singing with the prince separately, she drops a bunch of boxes she's carrying, because that's pretty much all she does in this world is, she's carrying stuff and working for other people. That is the fairy tale. And this is, as you said, this is their meet cute. And I like that they make her real assertive here, because they're talking about like, how a girl should be treated. And he's like, oh, I want to treat, a girl should be treated like a princess. And she says, no, like a person with kindness and respect. It's like, oh, okay.
I wrote that down too. That was so good. That was great.
Yeah, they kind of like buck fairy tale things with every time they'll like, they know that, I mean, yes, we're in a fairy tale world where we have true love at first sight and all that stuff. But anytime it's like the kind of like fairy tale ending of like, love and happily ever after, Cinderella usually pipes up with something that's more along the lines of like, I'm a person, goddammit, I have value. Treat me accordingly.
It's a fairy tale, but that doesn't mean we can't have feminism and, mixed race couples and families. Like, we can create our own world here. And I feel like that's what's so cool about it, and what makes it, I guess, stick out to me, like, as a young child, like, made a real impression on me.
Again, I was kind of curious as to how much of this is a 1997 version of the script versus a 1957 version of the script. Because I mean, the interracial stuff definitely not in 1957, but maybe some of the more assertive aspects of the character that could be in, even in 57 you could see that potentially. So
Totally.
But anyway, so they have this discussion of their sheltered lives, each one thinking, I'm sort of cloistered away in a different kind of prison. And that's when the stepmother comes in to just kind of interrupt this potential moment of happiness, and yank her away back to her drudgery.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like it's funny because this is when they go back to the house, and the house where the stepmother and stepsister and Cinderella live. And when you go into their house, it is like the most beautiful, like 90s like whimsy goth vibes. Like, it kind of looks like you're inside of a cheesecake factory a little bit, like when you go in their house, like all of the decor, it's like so warm. I just really miss this kind of decorating style that was very popular in the 90s, and I feel like people are calling it whimsy goth now. I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's like all these warm tones and like no fear of color. So I guess I just really liked the vibrancy and design of the the house that Cinderella and the stepmother and sisters live in. It really made an impression on me.
It's more early 90s, I think, in terms of this kind of like bright colors and like spiral patterns and stuff. Like
Spiral, yeah.
like these very like lyrical kind of like railings and everything is circles
Yeah.
and like, there's very few like right angles anywhere in their house. And as you said, yeah, these very saturated colors, which is most of it, but especially like in their house, I think. But even before we get to their house, we get to see the prince's house, because Lionel, who is Jason Alexander, he's the butler, whatever you want to call this guy, man at arms or whatever. But he brings the prince home, cautions him not to go into town in disguise anymore. I guess it's something he does a lot. And he says the main reason is not because he's worried for the prince's safety, but for his own, because he has to keep lying to the queen about what's going on. And we meet Queen Whoopi and King Victor Garber, who are planning just a small soiree with maybe 400 or 500 guests to try and get their son married. Yeah.
You wanted to see me, Mother?
Christopher, darling, where have you been? Your father and I were just talking about you.
Your mother was talking. I was listening.
All right, what's going on?
Just planning a little get-together, nothing fancy, just family. And a few close friends. And all the eligible young women in the kingdom.
Mother!
We're only talking maybe 400 or 500 at the most.
Mother, you can't keep doing this to me.
What? Max, what's he saying?
He's saying he doesn't want to have another ball.
No, he's not.
Here we go.
Max, my smelling salts. Max.
Chris, it's really very simple. All your mother and I want is for you to be happy.
Happiness has nothing to do with it. I mean, of course, we want you to be happy, but you do have certain obligations.
What your mother's trying to say is, we think it's time you chose a bride and produced an heir.
Someday soon, this entire kingdom will be yours.
Not that soon.
Look, all I'm asking is you let me choose a bride for myself, in my own way. And I guess I have this silly idea that I want to be in love when I get married.
And this is, again, classic scene of the fairy tale, right? Our son, it is not getting married. We got to find him a wife. So let's just schlep in any person with an X chromosome we can find.
Is this the song? Is this the prince is having a ball song? Is that when this happens?
That's at the end of the scene as it starts. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I mean, this is, our first introduction to the king and queen. I think they're really funny, especially Whoopi. They give her a lot, and it's very classic, like bickering couple. Like long, the king is like kind of long suffering, but she's not too mean. Like she's just kind of stern. But it struck the numbers struck me as hilarious. Like we're gonna bring in 400 to 500 people. Like I remember, like because my wife and I had a decently sized wedding. It was about maybe 175 people. It was too many people. Even when even if you subtract all the people that my mom felt obligated to invite, you take them out and you do the math. And you're like, well, let's see this. We can't talk to anybody during the ceremony. We're busy. So we've got this like reception. The first part of the reception, we're going to be taking pictures. So we still can't talk to anybody. We're going to be pretty busy during that, and then finally, when we get to the actual dinner, we're mostly sitting around and then so you start doing the calculation of like, how many minutes do I actually get to spend with each of the guests at my wedding? And it's like per person, it's like 2 minutes and 12 seconds. That's what I have for you. So glad you're here.
Absolutely.
Glad you put on nice clothes to come so I could say hi to you for 2 minutes. And so like 400 to 500 people in this giant speed dating extravaganza is just ridiculous to me.
With marriage being the end goal, that's a lot of pressure for the prince.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Here, spend 30 seconds dancing with this girl and decide if she's it for the rest of your life. Oh well, that's fairy tale for you. So Lionel is summoned and he's gonna sing this kind of song, this like proclamation in the streets about the ball happening, and this is like really where you lean on Jason Alexander to do a lot of like patter.
Limburger, Swiss, and gourmandise, cheddar, Gruyere, and blue. Chunks of Swiss in barrels, please. Make sure that it's wholly. Puddings and pies and rum soufflés, succulent chocolate rounds. Cream puffs they can chew away to gain some royal pounds. The prince is giving a ball. The prince is giving a ball. His Royal Highness, 200 orchids, 400 poppies, 600 roses, 800 lilies, Christopher Robert, 1,000 oranges, 2,000 plums, Windermere, Vladimir, Carl Alexander, raspberry, blueberry, strawberry, gooseberry, Francois, Reginald, Lancelot Herman, son of Her Majesty, Queen Constantina, chocolate and cheddar, and Charlotte and Maisie, son of his caviar, King Maximilian, Humphrey, Ladislaw, Leopold, Sydney. Sydney! Is it giving a ball?
The prince is giving a ball.
This is honestly like one of my favorite songs in the whole movie. Like, I just feel like Jason Alexander, he's running all over the town. He's going to the bakeries, he's ordering the cakes, he's going to the butcher, he's going to the flower shop. Like, he is every man. He is doing the work of thousands of assistants, and I feel like he just owns this role so much. He's also wearing this like beautiful purple, like, I'm sure we'll talk about the costumes, but like, yeah, he just has this like, he looks like very attractive in the costume that he's been given. And then when you add on top of that, like, his singing and dancing is just so on point that I was just blown away. I was like, this man is a star. And I think that when I watched this at such a young age, I was like it really stuck with me. And I think when I think back on this movie, like how I said earlier that I do every week, Jason Alexander is the thing that like really sticks out in my mind. I just thought he was like very attractive in this role, which I feel like needs to be mentioned because I feel like people don't really talk about how he's attractive, but he just like something about him playing this role and in this song especially, he just really owns it. And he's doing a lot of physical comedy, but then he can just really back it up with his, incredible vocals and dancing. Like, he's doing the same really hard choreography that everybody else is doing in this song, and so I just really feel like this is his moment to shine, and he just does it so well.
Well, as a fellow bald man, I can say I'm very grateful for your kind words about Jason Alexander's sex appeal. But let me let me take a step back. Like, this is, as I said, it's a patter song, which is, if people don't know musical theater, it's just a lot of like so like my daughter got into watching some show where at some point a character performs Modern Major General from the Pirates of Penzance, which is like, that's the ultimate, like, patter song, because it's really just a lot of syllables come in real fast. And this one's like that. And like, what's crazy about it, so he's like listing things that he's buying and like all that. Yeah. But at some point the lines get crossed because he's doing so much. And so like, he's talking about, like, I don't have the lyrics in front of me, but it's like, a carton of butter instead of a carton of milk or whatever. Like, he starts mixing things and it's still flying at you fast and furious in this like feat of memorization. I just wrote down like credit to Alexander on this, because like you need like talent to deliver this, because it's also not only having because it's also the comedic timing of how he's getting all of these words out of his mouth and making it funny. Like, this was very impressive to me as a musical number.
Yeah, and I feel like because you're mentioning the patter, do you call it patter song or pattern? What did you call it?
Patter, Patter.
Patter, okay. Yeah, so I feel like a patter song usually involves the ensemble, right, in some way. Like, it's a song that maybe involves more of the cast, because even in the Major General song, you have, like, everybody else kind of backing up the main vocalist sometimes. So that's just interesting to me. I think that this is, like, one of the fewer numbers in the show that involves a lot of other, like, ensemble members, like, backing up what Jason Alexander's doing.
Yeah, I used to memorize songs like this for my own personal fun. Like at one point I memorized the entire Yakko's world, where Yakko lists off all of the countries. I had that memorized.
Wow.
Why? Who this would impress? No one, but I did it. But yeah, there's something fun about being able to actually rattle some of this stuff off. Like it's once you've mastered it, it's a fun,
satisfying
trick. Yeah. And so Cinderella overhears this song. So she is now on notice of the ball, and we cut to commercial. Because when you watch it on Disney Plus, you still have the fade to black and stuff. It's very obvious. This is where the commercial was. And so this is where, we cut to the family at their storybook home, and they start ordering Cinderella around. They give the stepmother some really good mean lines. So she talks about I should have thrown you out after your father died, but I promised I wouldn't. And this is the thanks I get. It's a lot of that stuff. I have too big a heart, I guess. That's my one problem, right? It's all of that kind of awful, awful stuff. And, they tell her to know your place and be satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
They suck.
Yeah, this is a real bummer of a moment. It's like, damn, Cinderella's really living like this. Like these would be difficult people to be around all the time.
I mean, this is why they the concept of the wicked stepmother or the wicked stepsisters, this is the touch point for this. It's like, yep, she lives with these people. She's trapped with them. They suck. They're awful. They order her around. Every version of the story, this is always, how are we going to portray, what these people are like, other than just telling her to do stuff. And they do a good job of making it. They're not just bad bosses. They're truly bad people.
Right. Yeah.
But this is where she sings "In My Own Little Corner," which is her someday I'll get out of this place song.
I'm as mild and as meek as a mouse. When I hear a command, I obey. But I know of a spot in my house where no one can stand in my way. In my own little corner, in my own little chair, I can be whatever I want to be. On the wing of my fancy, I can fly anywhere, and the world will open its arms to me. I'm a young Egyptian princess or milkmaid. I'm the greatest prima donna in my land. I'm an Aries who has always had her silk made. My own flock of silkworms in Japan. I'm a girl, men go mad for love's a game I can play with a cool and confident kind of air. Just as long as I stay in my own little corner.
Yeah, it's kind of like her "I Want" song. I think she says "I want" a lot of times in that song, in the lyrics.
Well, she's imagining better things for herself, right?
Yeah.
She's but not just I want a palace. It's she's imagining adventure. She's talking about being a thief or a queen or a mermaid and stuff. And it's I think one, that's cool, that's showing she's more imaginative than that. But it also felt sad to me, which is this must be how she passes the time, because she has no friends.
Yeah.
She's just going to be well, today I'm going to imagine I'm on some kind of an adventure because that's the best I can do.
Totally. Yeah. And I don't think she mentions love that often in that song, does she? It's like you're saying, it's more adventure driven or, dreaming of fantastical worlds and things that she could do that don't involve love. So I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's again they're trying to make her as three-dimensional as possible. She's not just someday I'll have a prince come and rescue me and I'll be in love.
Yeah.
There is
Yeah.
more. And we see she's got the mice. They do a good job of setting these little things up we know we're going to see later. And we go back to the prince at the castle, and he tells the queen he wants to call this ball off. And because he doesn't like this idea. He wants to find love his own way. And so the queen, says, okay, well, I'll make you a deal. You go to the ball, you try it. If it doesn't work, then we'll do it your way. Which is all fine. But I love that in the background of this, it's a whole lot of business with like Jason Alexander on a ladder, like getting knocked down, getting stepped on.
This poor man has been through a lot physically in this film.
He takes a lot of abuse. Yeah.
Yeah.
He does not, no one comes to whisk him away to a better life.
Right.
At the end of it. So now we go to a classic bit of fairy tale or like old timey business, which is these girls got to fit in a corset.
Mother! My girls are going to be the envy of everyone at the ball.
Do you really think so, Mother?
Stand still, Minerva. Our family has always been known for its fascinating women. Why, I would have married a prince myself if I had had the same opportunities that you the girls have had. If I had someone to push me the way you girls do. Someone to sacrifice for me. Mother, you're hurting me. Beauty knows no pain, girls. Now, let's go over this again.
As they're trying to get the stepdaughters here, or stepsisters, dressed for tomorrow night's ball, and the mother gives them instructions about how not to be quite so odious, which is a great setup and just like really funny. It's like, what is their like thing that makes them so awful?
Yeah. Yeah, this is a great part, and this is leading up to the Bernadette Peters song, right?
That's almost, yeah. I think it's at the end of the sequence where like she tells Calliope, who's the taller one, like don't snort when you laugh. She's this horrifying.
Yeah.
Line.
And the other one has an itch. She's itchy.
That's more of a concern to me. Like the laugh,
Yeah.
like I've known people with weird laughs. Like you can't help it. That's just how your laugh is. It's involuntary. But the itching
Right.
suggests an actual like fixable problem.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, yeah, and you never see like, thankfully it's not that kind of, we're going to see like sores on her or like bed bugs or like what's causing the itching. But like Minerva needs a little help here. Like
She does. She could also just be nervous because some people get itchy when they're nervous, I've heard.
maybe they're implying that like, because they
Yeah.
don't, yeah. But they treat it as if it's this weird habit. Like she just likes to
Mhm.
scratch herself all the time. And Cinderella says, at this point says, shouldn't a man love you who you really are? And they're like, oh, no. That's ridiculous. We hide our flaws until after the wedding, which is only partially true.
Yeah.
But once again, like, right, this is this like self-actualization stuff from her.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like, I don't know, the stepsisters are really, it's just interesting because you can tell like how they've been raised and what they've been taught is important. And I feel like the way that Cinderella has been raised is really different from the way the stepsisters have been raised on many levels. But it's just really interesting to hear like what is important to each of them based on, the messages that they were told growing up.
Well, I mean, they literally say like, right, this isn't about love. It's about marriage. Like this is about, finding a financial security blanket, and you can't do any better than the prince. So,
Yeah.
And they leave, and this is where Bernadette Peters sings this song, "Falling in Love with Love," about how love is all a bunch of fantasy nonsense, and like it's more about like locking down that guy.
Have I taught you girls nothing? Falling in love with love is falling for make-believe.
Falling in love with love is playing a fool. Caring too much is such a juvenile fancy. Learning to trust is just for children in school. I fell in love with love one night when the moon was full. I was unwise with eyes unable to see.
Yeah, having security, financial security, and how maybe like love doesn't exist, but it's easy to, I guess, fall for it. Is what I got from this song. But of course, it's Bernadette Peters, and she slays it, so it's really good. It's a great song.
It's a comedy song, and she nails it, as of course she would. I mean, this is right in her wheelhouse. This is an easy alley-oop for
Yes.
for Bernadette Peters to do, and like they do a good job, like because they kind of have I don't want to say limits in terms of like TV budgets or whatever. Like they obviously did a lot with this, but in terms of the sets and stuff and what they have her do, they don't go like crazy with like special effects and imaginative stuff, you know, the way you would if this was animated, but they do a good job of having her kind of like own the set and work her way around it in a way that's like visually engaging, as opposed to just having her stand there and sing this stuff.
That's a great point. Yeah, she's moving around a lot inside of the home during this song, and she's also doing a lot like just like with her body language and her facial expressions, and she's just performing the hell out of it. She really is. And this is another one of those songs that I noticed after I watched the movie last night was getting stuck in my head, and I'm like, oh, they really did her right with that one.
Oh yeah. I mean, again, like you want to give you hire Bernadette Peters, you got to give her some show-stopping thing to do, you know, and like, yeah, this is why you hire her to be able to deliver this. It's amazing to me that this song wasn't originally in there. I didn't, again, I wish I had time to watch the original one to see what it's like, because, you know, maybe they had some different song for the stepmother to sing, but for whoever had the instinct to transplant this song in, was genius, because it works so well.
Chef's kiss, absolutely.
Yep. So they all leave. Cinderella sees them off as they hop in a carriage and leave for the ball. And she goes back inside, says, well, she'd rather sit by the fire than go to that stupid old ball anyway, and sings a little sad reprise of In My Own Little Corner. But at the end, she makes a wish that she actually could go to the ball, and that summons Whitney Houston as the fairy godmother. But really, it's just Whitney Houston. Like, she's not a character. This is just her.
Yeah, she like appears through the window, like through open window. She's just like there, and she's sparkling. And I found like the effects that they used, the visual effects of her like sparkling, to be so funny and so specific of that time period. Like, she's in all gold. She's got gold eyeshadow. Her hair looks incredible. And they're just like these little animations of twinkly sparkles and like little squiggly swirlies like all around her, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this looks so cool. Like, I know it doesn't look realistic, but it's totally the vibe.
No, those sparkles are like, again, like 90s Nickelodeon, like, as you possibly can. But the outfit, like, let's talk about this outfit they have her in, this gold spacesuit thing. Like, again, like, I feel like Whitney just brought that from her closet. Like, there doesn't...
Totally.
There's nothing like, again, like 18th century fantasy about it. It's just sort of big and glittery, and again, screams like, yeah, if you told me she just also wore it in The Bodyguard, I'd believe you.
It's so true that they did such a good job at like creating their own world of this with this story. Like, yes, it's Cinderella, but it's also Whitney Houston. And they say at the beginning, like, do they say like presented by the world of Disney and Whitney Houston? Like, it's just so clear, like, what a stamp she made on this production, and then how well everybody just sort of adapted to what her dreams and what her visions were. Like, I just am really impressed with that, like, how much, like, it just all fits together, and how, like, all the costumes, all of the choices are just like, yeah, this is very much the world of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella with Whitney Houston. Like, that's what the vibe is of the whole entire design concept, I feel like, on every level. So yeah, when she shows up, it really is that like beautiful sparkling moment of like, this is Disney and Whitney Houston, and that's what you're gonna get.
Oh, and again, Whitney Houston at this point was just at the height of her fame and power. Like, if you told me that Whitney Houston could in real life, like, turn a pumpkin into a coach and mice into coachmen, I'd believe you. Like, she just,
you're like,
could
yeah, she can.
Sure, she's Whitney Houston. Did you not hear the cover of I Will Always Love You? Like, she can do that. Like, she's awesome. So she comes in with a whole bunch of like gibberish words and rhymes. It's not
Yes.
quite bibbity bobbity boo, but it's kind of reminds you of that.
Something else.
It's something
Yeah.
else. And we have our meeting. Cinderella's like, "Who are you?" She says, "I'm your fairy godmother." And Cinderella calls her out on the rhyming being a little off, which is cute. Because like Cinderella is not like, "Oh my God, a deity has descended into my house." Like she's actually pretty, like, she kind of goes toe to toe with her, which is cool.
Yeah. She's smart.
But she does some, she magically starts a fire. She does a few things to show her magic bona fides. And she says, "The stepmother just can't handle how fabulous you are," which again feels like a Whitney Houston thing to say more than a fairy godmother thing to say, which is great.
Totally.
And this is, they talk about, well, it's impossible. And she says, well, then it's time for Whitney to do her thing.
Impossible for a plain yellow pumpkin to become a golden carriage. Impossible for a plain country bumpkin and a prince to join in marriage. And 4 white mice will never be 4 white horses. Such falderall and fiddle-dee-dee of courses. Impossible. But the world is full of zanies and fools who don't believe in sensible rules and won't believe what sensible people say. And because these daft and dewy-eyed dopes keep building up impossible hopes, impossible things are happening every day. Impossible. 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 Impossible.
And she goes outside and she says, "No one's stopping you but you." And and Cinderella says, "Well, I have no way to get to this ball." And she's like, "Okay, well, you kind of have a point. You do need a little help." And this is when she does what the fairy godmother always does in the story.
And it's a very empowering because it's like, and this is a constant throughout the film of like the fairy godmother, Whitney Houston, sort of reminding Cinderella that like she's the one with the power and she's the one that can make things happen for herself. And like, of course, like you say, she's going to help her, like she's got to help her get to the ball, but she's really reinforcing this theme of like, no, like it's within you, like you have everything that you need and you are wonderful as you are, which I think is a really powerful message for, especially like women to be hearing at this time that this movie came out, like young girls. And yeah, I just think that the relationship that they have together, like fairy godmother Cinderella, is just really wholesome because she's like, yeah, I'm gonna help you, but it's all on you. It's on you, Brandy.
Brandy, you're a fine girl. This is
yeah.
I mean, this is intrinsic to the original fairy tale, right? Which is eventually she will be stripped of all of the, the finery, and the prince will have to recognize she's in fact a princess all on her own in her regular clothes. So they smartly, I think, bring that theme to the forefront really well.
Totally.
And it's why people have been telling this story for hundreds of years but yeah, she magics up the coachman and the pumpkin and, everything out, the glass slipper and the dress, all of the stuff you expect her to do. And, but again, keeping her in there, like in the Disney one, I remember like Cinderella hops in the coach and the fairy godmother kind of waves goodbye at her as she disappears. And then the fairy godmother herself disappears into sparkles or something. Here, Whitney like rides on the coach with her, towards the ball.
So good.
With again, more like Nickelodeon digital glitter sparkles everywhere as they sing their way towards the ball, and cut to commercial.
Yes.
Then we get to the ball. We spend a lot of time at the ball, and it's really well realized, I think. And like we get a lot of stately dancing. This is just people, large groups of like couples waltzing in this, all in purple in this like big empty circular space that is the ballroom kind of. It's
I think it's very like classic musical theater at this point. Like when we get to feast our eyes on the ballroom for the first time. Like all of the styles and cuts of the dresses and the kind of dancing that they're doing really like calls back to me, like, watching West Side Story, or just like there's a lot of musicals that utilize this sort of formula of, got man and woman dancing together, them wearing these specific things and doing these kinds of dancing. But it's a little bit, again, it's got that like Whitney Houston world of this Cinderella flair where it's like, oh, it just feels a little bit like different, like it has its own identity. They're all wearing like this color palette, like both the men and women, the suits and the dresses are all of this like purple color palette, and some of it is like a more like periwinkle, like pastel, but it's all in that realm of like purple colors. So I think when you look at the ballroom scene for the first time, it's very like, to me, it was like overwhelmingly beautiful. I was like, oh, this just looks great,
There's a lyrical quality to it as well, because like the ballroom isn't a big rectangle, like you're kind of used to as a ballroom.
Yeah.
Like there's this upper area that's kind of in this like, again, like circular crescent kind of shape. And so then there's this sweeping staircase that goes down, but it creates this space at the bottom of it where everyone's dancing, this big wide area. But again, not a rectangle. It's like kind of oval shape. It's like almost an irregular, artist palette kind of shape. So like, again,
that's a good call out.
Yeah, everything's got this kind of like almost like seashell quality to it that makes everything feel a little more fantastical than, say, like, again, what an actual standard ballroom might look like.
Yeah, it's very unique and warm and interestingly shaped throughout the whole movie, I would say.
I like that. So you got the stepsisters watching as the prince like kind of just waltzes with like one candidate after another, and they're in the queue or whatever to go. And I think it's Minerva, just yells, "I want a chance at him!" like loud. It's really fun out of nowhere.
I want a chance at him. Yeah, that part was so funny. Because like you said earlier, they invited like 600 women to this ball. So like the prince is only allowed, a certain amount of time to dance with each eligible bachelorette. And it's really funny because this is some of the best comedy in the movie, I feel like, is this scene where the stepsisters are waiting to get their chance to dance with the prince, but also you see this really playful relationship between Jason Alexander's character and the prince, where the prince is like, hey, can you like make the orchestra speed up so that I can get through these dances more quickly? That part really made me laugh, and that was a part I forgot about until I watched the movie last night, but they just like play so well together in this moment, and I find it so cute that Jason Alexander's like, yep, whatever you say, I gotta speed up the orchestra, and then he's like going through all these bachelorettes like so quickly. Oh, I just love that part.
I like that. So the stepmother decides, she's got to make a move here to make something happen. So she's gonna try and like butter up Jason Alexander to see if that can help the daughters get to the prince. And like she's flirting with him, and it's like she's about to say he has a wonderful head full of skin instead of hair, which again as a bald man I appreciate. But she keeps trying to flirt with him, and he says, I wish there was something between us. And he says, so do I, a continent.
A continent,
Good lines here. But he does eventually give the stepsisters each a shot. Which they both mess up because of their individual flaws, the snorting and the itching.
Their signature quirks of the snorting and itching, yes.
The laughing one is particularly awesome because he doesn't say anything funny at all. And she's just bursting into laughing like uncontrollable. It's like clearly this is a tick more than it is a laugh or something. But watching this actress kind of like flail and laugh and snort is pretty damn good.
It's so good. They're doing a great job.
And so after the laughing and itching is rejected, we go to the king, and you see he's like, well, this seems to be going well. Like clearly he's, not very happy. And Cinderella arrives outside, and the fairy godmother's still there to give her one last like attaboy. And she says, I got you to the ball, but the rest comes from you. Also, remember, you have until midnight. Why? Because I'm mean. I could extend this longer if I wanted, but hey, yeah. For reasons, it ends at 12. So, So now we have our scene where she appears at the top of the stairs and the world stops for the two of them.
Yes. Yes. Doesn't the prince say something like, I forgot there were other people here or something to that effect?
Once they start dancing, yeah, this is something about that. Yeah. I wish I had it in my notes exactly what he said. But yeah, it's like, again, they've forgotten that the rest of the world exists while they're dancing with each other.
Everyone's staring at us.
Really? I'd forgotten there was anyone else here.
10 minutes ago I saw you. I looked up when you came through the door. My head started reeling. You gave me the feeling the room had no ceiling or floor. 10 minutes ago I met you, and we murmured our how do you do's. I wanted to ring out the bells and fling out my arms and to sing out the news. I have found her, she's an angel with the dust of the stars in her eyes. We are dancing, we are flying, and she's taking me back to the skies. In the arms of my love I'm flying over mountain and meadow and glen. And I like it so well that for all I can tell I may never come down again. I may never come down to earth again.
10 minutes ago I met you, and we murmured our how.
The king has a weird line here. He's like, well, if I were a young man, and the queen's like,
That was so weird.
and the queen looks at him and is like, I'd be younger, wouldn't I? Like, he's like, so, because of course, what he should, the sentence is, I'd hit that is the end of the sentence.
Right. That part did take me out of it a little bit last night. You know, it just like goes to show like even the most wonderful of things, they can't all age perfectly. I was just like, oh dang, like they really had that part in the movie. But yeah, that was something I didn't remember. But yeah, he's basically like, damn, she looks good.
Mm-hmm. And she does.
She does. She looks beautiful.
And so, yeah, they're dancing. I wrote in my notes, like, I'm dizzy. Like, they must be dizzy because they're waltzing and it's like spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning as they're talking. And then eventually they start singing this song 10 minutes ago that, you know.
Oh, such a good song.
Yeah, this is a pretty song. Yeah, but the prince singing, Paolo Montalban is the actor. I didn't look if he was related to Ricardo Montalban. I assume yes, but I don't know that for a fact.
I don't know. I do know he's Filipino, so another great, casting choice, and just going to show like how diverse they made this cast of characters. He's really great.
Yeah, and it's just a sweet. Yeah, it's a love song. I don't know what else to say about it, but it's an effective, a love at first sight kind of song.
And they're so soft with each other too. Like they're just so sweet. That was all I was gonna say. It was just that they're like. Yeah, they're just like very happy to be together, and like I genuinely think they have really good chemistry. So it's a really sweet moment.
Yeah. Also, like we just have to accept the logic of like the Superman Clark Kent thing that like he doesn't immediately recognize her. She wasn't even wearing a disguise before. She's just wearing nicer clothes.
Right.
But again, that's just suspension of disbelief. We just have to go with it. It's a fairy tale.
Right. Yeah, we'll go with it.
There is a spot, though, later on we'll talk about where I'm like, this suspension of disbelief can go away for part of it. But we'll get there. So we're there. The waltzing inside continues, but they work their way into the garden. And this is where we get that song you mentioned that everyone was auditioning with, the Stepsisters' Lament.
Yes.
Why would a fellow want a girl like her, a frail and fluffy beauty? Why can't a fellow ever once prefer a solid girl like me? She's a frothy little bubble with a flimsy kind of charm, and with very little trouble I could break her little arm. Oh, why would a fellow want a girl like her, so obviously unusual? Why can't a fellow ever once prefer a usual girl like me? exquisite than a rose is.
Her skin may be delicate and soft, but not any softer than a doe's is.
Her neck is no longer than a swan.
She's only as dainty as a daisy.
She's only as graceful as a bird. So why is a fellow going crazy? Oh, why would a fellow want a girl like her? A girl who's merely lovely. Why can't a fellow ever once prefer a girl who's merely neat? She's a frothy little bubble with a frilly sort of air.
Which is, again, a great comedy song for the two of them.
It's so good. It's so funny too because like you were saying earlier, like they're great together, the stepsisters, and it's so funny because they're doing so much physical comedy in this moment, and they're basically just talking about how jealous they are of Cinderella, but they're actually just complimenting her the entire time, like in the lyrics. Like they're talking about like her neck is as long as a swan, and she's so beautiful, and her cheeks are as dainty as a rose, or there's just like a lot of they're saying all of these like really funny lyrics, and they're delivering them in this way that is like mean and menacing. But when you listen to what they're actually saying, they're just like adoring her and like complimenting her beauty and grace. And I just like love that, I guess, like, yeah, like those two things like fighting up against each other, like the delivery of being mean, but with the actual feelings and intentions of being kind. Like, I just think that's what makes that song so interesting to me.
Yeah, this is Hammerstein is such a lyrical genius, like coming up with these things, and like it's a simple joke premise, which is basically, saying, ugh, who wants a girl like that? Who has all of these list wonderful qualities,
right?
Why? Who wouldn't want that when they could have this? Which is the thrust of the song.
Yeah.
And it just, again, great back and forth as they play off each other with what are presented as insults, but are in fact compliments. It's really good. And it ends with them falling backwards into the fountain. And so the prince and classic. So the prince and Cinderella go inside for more dancing, and the stepmother's trying to get a look, but at this moment the king and the queen come in, and they kind of, I called it in my notes a switcheroo, but basically each one of them takes the prince and Cinderella and takes turns dancing with them as a opportunity to talk to them and see what's what. So like the king asks Cinderella, like, is the prince behaving himself? The queen wants to talk to her and ask, when can I meet your parents? Where are they? And when that comes up, Cinderella's like, I gotta go. Do not want to talk about my family. And so she excused herself, and the prince runs after her, stepping over Lionel, who has made it onto the floor in the process.
Poor Lionel.
And once again, the fairy godmother's there. She runs outside, and Whitney Houston's there because she's like, I want to give up. I can't. And she's like, nope, you're not giving up. I got you this far.
Yeah.
Which is, again, a great way to keep her involved in the story.
Totally.
So this is where the prince comes in, and he apologizes, and he says, I want to meet your family. And she says, no, you don't. But this leads to them talking about their future together. And this is like a really sweet moment as well.
Yeah.
May I ask you a question?
Of course.
Do you think it's possible to meet someone and know in an instant that she's the one?
It's very possible.
I feel so strange. Like I'm not myself, or maybe it's just with you I really am myself. Not the self that people expect me to be, but the real self that I'm not making any sense, am I?
Actually, you're making perfect sense to me. That's what's so scary.
Scary. And confusing. And wonderful. All at the same time. Do I love you because you're beautiful? Or are you beautiful because I love you? Am I making believe I see in you a girl too lovely to be really true? Do I want you because you're wonderful? Or
because I want you.
I'll throw it to you on this, but I feel like this is like the most magical conversation between them, not because it's fantastical, but because it's kind of like this is where they're actually being themselves, talking about being themselves.
Yeah, and I feel like, I don't know, it's pretty clear from the beginning, like, what they both want. Like, I feel like, and then especially after they meet at the ball, like, I feel like the prince is like, oh, this is like what I want. I want something real. And I feel like, yeah, Brandy, Cinderella, sorry, it's so hard for me to not call them by their character names.
Yeah, whatever.
Or I feel like she's thinking about, like, you know, she has all of these dreams and is really trying to be clear about, like, yeah, like, I'm more than you might think. And so they just like have this really lovely conversation about their future. I feel like there's a moment, this is when they kiss for the first time too, I think, right?
He ends by, like, he kisses each of her hands and then her forehead, but not on the lips.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I don't know, this is just like the first and maybe only time in the whole movie where they kind of have like a real conversation with each other, I would say, and where there aren't like other people around, so they can kind of like be themselves. So I think this is like a moment where their chemistry like really comes through, and yeah, it's just a lovely scene.
Well, it's also another moment where, like, again, the fairy tale stuff is kind of kicked aside, because he talks about, like, you know, he starts to like wish for something, and she's like, no, don't wish, do something, you know. She says that. He asks about oh, well, would I be your servant or something like that? And he says, well, servants I have. I need someone to talk to. I need a person.
Yeah, that's right.
And, you know, they talk about, oh, each says, when I'm with you, I can be myself, my true self. Like, so this, again, all of this, like, actual, like, human connection and respect and dignity versus fairy tale nonsense.
Yeah. And yeah, you're reminding me of like how, yeah, like maybe it's making me think like maybe the prince has just kind of been a little bit lonely, and like, yeah, he does make that call out of like, I already have everything that I want except for this one thing that I actually want is what I don't have, and like that's what she can provide, you know. So that's really sweet.
Right. And they sing this song, Do I Love You Because You're Beautiful.
I'm gonna cry. It's so good.
Yeah, please. Crying on this podcast is encouraged, you know, regardless of the subject. So
it's just funny because the lyrics of this song they're like so basic, but then they're so profound. Like, yeah, like do I love you because you're beautiful, or are you beautiful because I love you? Like that's just so, oh my God, it's so sweet. But it's not like, it is really deep, but it's also very approachable. And just such a great like premise and lyric and message for a song. And the way that the way that the song is written is just so lovely, and like the lyrics, you know, like you said earlier, like these two, like Rodgers and Hammerstein, like great powerhouse team, great music that has great lyrics. It just really makes sense in this moment. And I feel like if I had just heard someone say that, you know, like whatever, but then you hear someone say it in this song and the way that it's sung and the way that it's written, it's just, it makes a huge impact. And that is sort of the theme for the whole song, is there's just all these examples of like, are you this because you mean this to me, or is it the other way around? It's such a good song.
Yeah. But at this moment we get, you know, a key plot point in Cinderella. It's 12 o'clock and she's got to go.
Oh, shoot.
And she bolts. She, of course, drops the glass slipper. Her clothes turn back to normal. Everything, all the magic disappears. And we get this reprise of the song. But again, they're separate. They're singing in two different locations. She's out in town somewhere, and he's back at the palace. And so the family comes home. Somehow Cinderella got home first. Anyway, without the benefit of a carriage. But they start bragging about, oh, I danced with the prince for an hour, and all that kind of stuff. And Cinderella asks all of these probing questions about, like, because she heard, oh, well, he danced with this one person that none of us recognized. And so Cinderella went, oh, how did he like that girl? How did he talk about her? I forget what she says, but it's a lot of questions. Oh, I bet I can imagine what that person was like. And so they're all suspicious, but we get this song, A Lovely Night.
It looks that way, the way you say. She talks as if she knows. I do not know that this is so I only just suppose. I suppose that when you come to the ballroom and the room itself is floating in the air, if you're suddenly confronted by his highness, you are frozen like a statue on the stair. You're afraid he'll hear the way your heart is beating, and you know you mustn't make the first advance. You are seriously thinking of retreating, then you see to hear him asking you to dance.
Yeah. This part is so sad to me, actually, because, like, just as someone who has little sisters and loves sisterhood and, like, really believes in the power of sisters, I guess, I feel like this was the moment where you're like, oh no, they could have a totally normal sister friendship relationship together, like Cinderella and the evil stepsisters, because they're just, like, having fun together in this moment, and Cinderella is very much, like, showing off, like, what a beautiful and lively imagination she has by describing, like, oh, a lovely night, you know, like, these are all the amazing things that could happen. And you see the stepsisters really, like, play into that. Like, they're like, oh, like, they're just along for the ride. They're having a great time. The three of them are kind of bonding together. And then, of course, like, stepmother has to shut it down. But this part, I'm just like, they're just, at the end of the day, like, they're just girls. These are just girls having fun. And I love to see that in this moment. But it did make me really sad because I'm like, they could have been friends, you know?
There are some versions of the story I've seen where the stepsisters aren't quite as evil. They're more just like kind of under the thumb of the stepmother. Yeah. And sometimes they will have a turn, or they'll go, you know, they'll back off a little bit. This one's not that. This one, they're rotten all the way to the end.
They're rotten. Yeah.
But yeah, like, this is when, like, the stepmother, like, interrupts the song, like, song over, and, you know, basically calls out Cinderella of this idea of, like, you dance with the prince, that's preposterous. And she just runs her down in a way that's like, oh, this is not funny. This isn't whimsical. Yeah. She's just mean. And just says, like, that's, you know, you're common. Your father spoiled you. You suck. Just, you need to not forget how much you suck.
And it's during this song when she, like, curtsies, and then I think the stepmother realizes, like, that she was the one at the ball, right? That's how I interpret it anyway.
Yeah, at some point she kind of susses it out that Cinderella was there in disguise. Mm-hmm. Despite the fact that, you know, the person she saw at the ball looks exactly like Cinderella. A person whose face she's seen every day. So, but Cinderella goes into the garden. She has this moment where she kind of prays to her father's spirit. You know, she does this little reprise about how, you know, my dream came true, but on my lips he left a kiss. And the fairy godmother appears one more time to tell her, you know, she didn't need her help. The prince loves her for who she really is. And we cut to the prince, who is very, very worried. He's been up all night, can't rest, can't eat. He's been all night fondling this shoe. And he's told, you know, this is now the conundrum is, how do we find the girl whose foot fits this shoe? And Whoopi rightly says, you don't actually know much about her at all. You know, well, she's beautiful. Like, yeah, everyone at the ball was beautiful. You know, what makes her different? And he basically just says, well, she is. I just know she is. And we get a little bit of Whoopi singing to him.
Chris, you've been up all night. Come and have something to eat.
I can't eat or rest until I've found her again.
Chris, they've been searching everywhere and not a trace of her. You may never find her.
Don't say that. I will find her. I've got to.
Before last night, you didn't know a thing about her. And you don't know anything about her now.
Except that she's beautiful. And all the girls last night were equally beautiful.
I don't want to hear about anyone else, Mother. She's not like the others. She's different than any other girl I've ever met.
But how can you know that after one night?
Are you making believe you see in her a girl too lovely to be real? Do you love her because she's wonderful? Or is she wonderful because you love her? Is she the sweet invention of a lover's dream? Or is she really as wonderful as she seems?
Yeah, we do. And I feel like the dad has like a different approach where he's like, well, if that's what you want, like you got to go find her, you know? And I feel like Whoopi is offering that narrative that's more like, yeah, like you're saying, like, how are you sure that she's the one? Because if she's just beautiful, everyone there was beautiful. And then it's the dad that's really like, no, you got to go find her. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. And again, like they're just so cute together. I feel like the mom and dad, Prince or King and Queen, they have great chemistry.
Yeah, they do. Like they're really, like I said, they bicker a little bit, but they're spunky and fun.
Yeah.
And I think it's Lionel who helps the prince hit on the idea of we're going to go try this shoe on everyone in the kingdom, which,
yeah.
You know, we get a big hug with the king and queen, cut to commercial. And when we cut back, it is the Tarantino montage to end all Tarantino montages. Cause we are trying this shoe on it's just all feet, just tons
all
and
feet.
tons of feet.
It's just so many feet. I was like, damn, there's a lot of feet right now.
Yeah. And they're also like, they do a good job of like, it's not a kick line, but they want to try and make it feel as if it's a musical number in a way. It's not, no one's singing, but the way all of the feet have like these different vibrant color socks on each of them.
Yes.
Kind of makes it feel almost like we're about to do a kick line or something. There's something kind of like special about the visual of this.
Yes. Very theatrical. I enjoyed that.
But this is where, so for the shoe trying montage, this is where I'm like, you know, you can use a little bit of racial profiling here. Like, do you need to try the shoe on the white people? You saw her face. Yeah. Like you saw she is black, like 2 inches from your face. You can rule them out. You know, they're not the right person. It was very funny to me. They're like, nope, we're going to be egalitarian. We're going to try this shoe on everyone, regardless if the rest of their body bears no resemblance to Cinderella at all. So, all right. So then we go through the Tarantino montage. And we get to, finally, we're trying it on the stepsisters. So we get like Calliope trying to shove it on. And then Minerva trying to shove it on. And then the stepmother, I like throws her hat in the ring. Why not? I'm 3 times as old as the rest of you, but it could still be me.
And again, it does I'm fit also for white. A minute.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it does fit for a minute.
Yeah.
Until,
yeah. And then they have to pull it off because it's cutting off her circulation. Yeah, I was surprised that she tried on the shoe. I think I forgot that part. I was like, oh, she really went there. Like, she's really going to try on the glass slipper, and it does fit. And this is like another funny moment between her and Jason Alexander, because I feel like, yeah, he's really tired of her. Like, he does not like her.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, well, you've tried it on other young women over there. And he's like, younger than you. Like, you're clearly too old.
Yeah.
Again, no one says you're also too white, but you are too old to be Cinderella.
Right, you are too old and white. Yeah.
And so the prince is like, are you sure there's no other women living in this house? He smells a third lady or a fourth lady in this house somewhere. How, I don't know, but he's convinced somewhere there is a woman. And I like this moment, like you see her seemingly lock Cinderella in the room behind her, and he's like, "What's behind that door?" And they're like, "Oh, this door? Oh, it goes nowhere. There's nothing." In a way that's very suspicious. But I like this twist that after going through the whole spiel of dragging it out, they do open the door and she's not in there.
Right. Yeah, she's outside, right? How did she get outside?
I assume through a window.
Okay. Yeah, this part, I think last night I was like, how did this all happen again?
Magic.
Magic. Okay,
yeah,
makes
sure.
sense.
Why not? Yeah, and so he steps outside. He's like, well, okay, I guess there's nobody else here. And he steps outside to see Cinderella, like, just out in the front yard, just having some kind of interchange with the coach. I wasn't even sure what was happening at this point. Like, what was she trying to do? She talked at one point about maybe I'll run away and just leave entirely.
Yeah.
But that doesn't seem, it's not her coach to take. So I don't know what's happening here in this moment he interrupts.
Same. I'm glad you brought that up because I was a little confused at this part. I'm like, I don't understand what's happening right now. But I guess it doesn't matter because they find each other. He goes outside. She's outside. She tries on the shoe. It fits. It all makes sense in the end, I guess.
I like it. I do wish they had borrowed the cute twist from the Disney one, which is that the slipper shatters and then Cinderella goes, but I got the other one.
That's right.
That's
right.
I was kind of waiting for that to happen, but that's okay. Because that moment is such a great, like in animation, like it's such a great fuck you to the stepmother. Like the look on as they animate her face is
totally,
like, it's awesome. Anyway, he tells her real name, or she tells him her real name is Cinderella, and he says, "Oh, it grows on you." And I like that the stepmother screams, and Jason Alexander just goes, "Quiet, woman," which is a great It's blunt, but it's like you normally
He's not messing around.
You can't get away with saying that generally, but for the wicked stepmother in a fairy tale, we can allow it. Right?
I'll allow it. Any behavior Jason Alexander wants to have in this movie, I'll allow it. I feel like he's my shining star. He steals the show for me. So
Serenity now. So he. And so they kiss, and then we get our ending. Like the fairy godmother comes back to sing Impossible as a reprise.
Impossible. Things are happening
She transforms their clothes into a wedding gowns and wedding clothes.
Yes.
They ride through the streets. They go back to the palace and marry. Some cool visuals in this. One is the family trying to climb over the locked gate to get to the wedding. We're family.
Funny.
We're still family.
Totally.
And we get some huge Whitney Houston vocal runs over this. No one was going to stop her from doing that. Yep. And
stunning.
And she's like flying over everything and is gigantic at the end, which is funny to me. It's like because you see like the wedding from like a distance, and she's like, kaiju size Whitney Houston.
Yeah. It's so magical. It makes no sense, but it's very calling back to presented by Disney and Whitney Houston. Like that's all you need to explain the vibes.
Yeah, it's got my name on it. Damn it! That's why.
Yeah.
And that's the end. So this is a treat. Like I'd never seen this before. Like I said, I had heard about it. I knew it existed, but I never bothered to watch it. And I really enjoyed this. I'm curious to see how my kids would flock to it. Certainly my daughter, more so than my son. But I think they both, anything that's a musical, they actually tend to kind of like. So, yeah, Kate, thanks for bringing us to the show.
Of course, yeah. And I just wanted to add, like, well, thank you for having me. I think it was so fun for me to revisit this. And I feel like I would just love to see more of this, to be honest, like more of this approach to classic stories and musical theater as we create more movie musicals. I feel like, the history of musical theater is inherently, it was built on racism. And so I feel like it's really important that we, when we can, we try to tell stories that where maybe like, I don't know, like I'm kind of trying to think of some modern examples. And I feel like there's a TV show out right now called Bridgerton that I think really kind of echoes the same vibes that this Cinderella version of Cinderella did, where it's like in the time period, it doesn't make sense, but it doesn't matter because they've created their own world and their own structures where, people live together and are together, and you don't really need to explain it. And everybody's sort of like welcome in this universe. And so I don't know. I just think there's still a lot of, racism and fat phobia and transphobia that still exists in theater today, and even in like trying to be somebody or be an actor that is a part of theater. Like we've come a long way, but there's a long way to go. And so I would really love to see more movies take this approach where they're creating their own strong universe, and maybe just rethinking, like, not every leading character, not every princess has to be white, like we can really do whatever we want. And so yeah, I think that's definitely the reason why this film really stood out to me at the time. And I also just wanted to mention there is a really great article on the Elle magazine website by R. Eric Thomas called "The Whitney Brandy Cinderella was one of the most important movies of the 90s." And I just wanted to share, there's this quote, Cinderella taught me something revolutionary about the limitless nature of storytelling, that in stories there are no constraints, the only limit is your imagination, and once you learn that, you don't unlearn it. If audiences can make sense of a fairy godmother turning mice into coachmen, they can figure out a multiracial family tree or really anything else. And I just think that's such a cool message. It hits then, it hits now, and so thank you for giving me the opportunity to visit this film that is very special to me.
Yeah, of course. I was thinking about this, because certainly this has been big in my house lately because our kids got into Wicked, and the screen adaptation of Wicked has a fair amount in common with this in terms of the way it's cast and the way it's even just the visuals of it. I mean, granted, it's a much more updated CGI happy, 2024 or 5, a version of what this looks like, but it's very much in the spirit.
Totally.
And
I thought about Wicked a lot while I was watching this, actually. So yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah, and I'm curious, every once in a while, like a movie musical comes and hits it big, and then we kind of get a few. So like when Chicago, busted through back in like 2000 or so.
Yeah.
We got a fair number of musical adaptations following on that. So you got like the Dreamgirls adaptation and a few others.
Oh, love that one.
And I'm curious to see if, like, because Wicked did so well, does that renew interest? Like, oh, well, maybe it is time to do a musical, revive an old one. Maybe it's one of these things where it's like, Jesus Christ, how long does Book of Mormon have to be on Broadway before it gets its, film version?
Totally.
Things
Great
like
point.
that. But I think one of the fun things, as you mentioned, this kind of colorblind casting, it especially works in a fairy tale world where, like, who gives a shit? There is no, history of any magical place where that matters. But even just setting aside the socio-political stuff, like, man, it's just good to have movie musicals. Like, I love going to the theater
Absolutely.
to see something like that. Even like it used to be like kind of reliable that like every Disney movie would be a musical because that was an event, but that that was when you had like Broadway composers writing for them, and like now it's like they haven't done that since Encanto really. So like it's once in a while, as opposed to like, not only are you getting a new Disney movie this year, but hang on to your butts because here's an amazing soundtrack by Alan Menken. Right? We're not really doing that anymore.
Alan Menken's so good. Yeah, and you know, you've got your like Cats. People made. I think they did they made the new movie version of Cats, which I did see the day it came out. I will see any movie musical. I'm not. I'll watch any of them. Of course, we have Wicked, which is great. But yeah, it's really interesting. I feel like there is a lot of, especially within like the Disney musical realm. It's like you were saying earlier, a lot of like live action or whatever. But really, a lot of these iconic composers, they were just powerhouse. These like composer and lyricist duos. Like even like looking back to like Elton John and Tim Rice, Alan Menken, Rodgers and Hammerstein, I feel like we're due for a new powerhouse duo. And I guess Lin-Manuel Miranda has sort of stepped into the light as one of these iconic, new age composers of musicals. But I would love to see more women composers, teams, and yeah, I just feel like we're turning the corner, and I think we might be on maybe like we're getting really close to like a new age of musical theater. I can really feel that, and I hope that it happens because there's a lot of great stories out there that deserve to be told, and a lot of talented people. So.
Yeah, I think in the times we're living in, I think someone needs to do Ragtime finally as a screen musical.
I love Ragtime. It's so good.
Yeah. It's about time for that one. It would be very timely, for sure. Well, Kate, thanks again. Thanks so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure. You have an open invitation to come back anytime with whatever else you'd like to discuss. So tell the
thank you so much. Perhaps a game in like 5 years or so.
Whatever you like. So if people want to find the No Small Games podcast and your stuff, where do they go to find it?
Sure, yeah. So thanks again for having me, Doug. This was super fun. And if folks want to find me, they can find me on BlueSky or Instagram under Cater Blossom, as well as Twitch. I live stream myself playing video games a couple times a week, especially in the winter time. So not sure when this episode is coming out, but yeah, I do
March
a lot
9th.
of... Got it. Okay, cool. So yeah, you can find me on all those places under Cater Blossom, and the No Small Games podcast. The best place to go is our website, nosmallgames.com, where you can sort of see the breadth of our work and all of our episodes we host on the site. You can also find us wherever you find podcasts, and we are on Instagram and BlueSky under No Small Games. So yeah, a real pleasure. Thank you so much for having me again.
Of course. And to do a quick little bit of admin on our side. If you like this show and any podcast you listen to, do spend the time to go drop it a review. That actually makes a big difference in helping the podcast out, as does word of mouth. Help spread the word if you enjoyed listening to it. If you want to get in touch with us, all our social media places are in the show notes. Just reach out to us on your social media app of choice by Googling the word nostalgia, because it doesn't exist anywhere else. So that will lead you to it. I'm also on 2 other podcasts. So we do a twice a week musical podcast called Playing by Ear. I do that with my wife and brother-in-law, where each episode we take an album and work through it track by track, if that sounds of interest. I've also partnered up with my friend Josh Koval from the Still Loading podcast on his Patreon. So you go to patreon.com/stillloadingpod, drop a few bucks, and you get to listen to Still Muppeting, which is me and Josh going through various Jim Henson projects. So if you want to hear me do a lot of Muppet voices, that's where you go. But I think this is March. So assuming the schedule holds the way I expect it to, this month we're covering The Dark Crystal. So that'll be super fun.
My favorite.
So good. I think my favorite's still Labyrinth of the non-Muppet things. We go to Labyrinth, but I do like The Dark Crystal a whole bunch, as you'll hear me talk about on that episode. So that'll do it for this one. Man, thanks again, Kay. This is a blast.
I had a blast. Thanks, Doug. Take care.
You too. All right. So until next time, that is one more entry in the Nostalgium Arcana.
Now you can do whatever you want to do. Now you can be whatever you want to be. And love is the song you sing your whole life through. Move a mountain.
beautiful Cinderella story. This unknown comes out of nowhere to lead the pack. At Augusta, he's on his final hole. He's about 455 yards away. He's going to hit about a 2-iron, I think. Well, he got all of that. The crowd is standing on its feet here at Augusta. The normally reserved Augusta crowd going wild. For this young Cinderella, who's come out of nowhere, he's got about 350 yards left. He's going to hit about a 5-iron, I expect, don't you think? He's got a beautiful backswing. He got all of that one. He's got to be pleased with that. The crowd is just on its feet here. He's a Cinderella boy. Tears in his eyes, I guess, as he lines up this last shot. He's got about 195 yards left, and looks like he's got about an 8-iron. This crowd has gone deathly silent. Cinderella story, out of nowhere. A former greenskeeper now about to become the Masters champion. It looks like a miracle. It's in the hole! It's in the hole!